Hi, and welcome to Tech Talks, the People and Planet podcast. On this episode, I'm joined by Ashley Grealish, the VP of Engineering and interim CTO of electric vehicle charging company, ev.energy. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hi, Lee. Yeah, I'm great. Thanks. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Very cool product, and we're really looking forward to getting your insight into the mission and the tech and everything else that goes behind the scenes. So I guess that leads into the first question, actually. Will you tell us, our listeners, a little bit more about the mission, the problem that you're solving, the inspiration as well?
Yeah, I guess starting with the inspiration or starting with the background, I think we see two kind of macro changes happening in the world. So one is, we call it the energy trilemma. So we have energy security concerns. We have concerns about sustainability and energy, and it's starting to fall again, but we have concerns about energy pricing, especially here in the UK. So we're thinking a lot about energy at the moment. And then the other big trend that we're seeing is the rise of electric vehicles. And ev.energy, what we do is think about how can we make the charging of electric vehicles more simple and then cheaper and greener for drivers. And really a lot of thinking about that greener part of it. So EVs themselves, obviously, electric vehicles are going to be greener. They're more efficient. The electricity is a more efficient way to power vehicles, but the energy going into them, we can make that greener as well. So if we can put as many renewables into the energy mix that goes into the vehicle, then the lifetime emissions of a vehicle is going to be much lower, which is great. And what's quite nice is renewables, when there's more renewables on the grid, energy is typically cheaper as well. So as well as making it greener, we can make it cheaper for consumers. So we think about this a lot. How do we essentially move or change the time when vehicles are charging to make it greener, cheaper, and more simple? And then we also see lots more adoption of things like solar in people's homes. So you might have rooftop solar. If you have an EV, you have rooftop solar. It feels really nice if you can use that solar power, that local generation, to power your car.
Yeah, absolutely.
We enable that, and that's really the greenest, the cheapest way of charging an electric vehicle. So yeah, that's the problem that we're.
So in terms of a podcast like this, it's absolutely bang on, right? So we're all about helping people and the planet, and this is doing both in terms of greener, more efficient sustainability and financial wellness at the same time. So awesome, we've hit the nail on the head with this one, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So how does it work? Tell us a little bit more about the app, perhaps the features on it and the tech. I think there's some AI behind the scenes there as well.
Yeah, so we see the product as kind of a triangle with three sides, and the most obvious side you've touched on there is the app. So there's a mobile application or a web application. The driver users, we distinguish our customers into drivers and clients. So the driver, someone with an EV, they can download the app, they can connect to their car, they can connect to their charger. And we ask them about their energy, like where are you charging? What's your tariff at your home, perhaps? And then we'll know when is the greener, the cheaper times to schedule the charging of your car. So we'll automatically do all that. You just tell us a little bit about where you are, tell us what car you have, tell us what charger you have if you have one, and then we manage the rest of it. So there's the mobile app. When we're developing that, we're thinking a lot, how do we build trust with those customers? How do we give them the insights? How do we let them know how much carbon's being saved, how much cost is being saved, all of those sorts of things. So that's one kind of side of this triangle, but there's two others that kind of fit in here. So on one side or another side, we have hardware manufacturers. So there are people making these EVs, vehicle OEMs, There are people making these chargers, and we see that as we need to connect those into our platform. We want as many drivers as possible to be able to use our product, which means we need to support as many cars, as many chargers as we can. And so we try and work very closely with these manufacturers. We partner with charger manufacturers, we partner with vehicle OEMs, and we try and make it so they can connect into the platform.
Okay.
So that's critical.
Yeah.
And then the third side is obviously the energy system. So we are saying that if we can change when cars are charging either through the car or through the charger, and we can move that to when renewables are the most prominent on the grid, we can accelerate the adoption of renewables. And to do that, we need to partner with that energy system. We need to understand what the grid is looking like at any time. We need to get signals kind of into the platform and to say, please delay charging now because there's an overload on the grid. Where I am here in the UK, we had a thing over the winter that just gone called the Demand Flexibility Service, where we were hitting kind of near, or we were at risk of hitting the capacity of the grid. And so we were moving when cars were charging away from that. So we were getting signals from the grid into our system to control. So that's
typically, typically then, but is this, would it be more to charge your car at night time perhaps, or would it completely, is it completely different?
It depends really where you are. So in the UK, we have a lot of North Shore wind generation. And demand on the grid is typically lowest at night, and the wind generation is strong at night. So typically it changes kind of on a daily basis, but overnight, sometime like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, great time to charge. But if we look at, we do a lot in the US as well. If we look at, say, California, a lot of solar generation, not so much wind. Solar generation is obviously strongest during the daytime, and so we'll be typically turning load up during the daytime when there's more solar generation. So it really depends on the market. This is the kind of the point of the platform, is it will understand the energy system of where you are, understand what kind of the renewable mix is, and then move the charging to match that. So yeah, even UK kind of summertime would perhaps more during the daytime if that's more appropriate.
Yeah, and I guess, would a limitation be in that case then? It relies on the consumer, and when they're, of course, if they're driving around with their EV, then in the daytime, then they may miss the best time of the day to.
Yeah, of course. So we encourage people to plug in as much as possible, and but yeah, they need to use the car because that's what it's.
Yeah, that's it, right?
So yeah, we will only kind of manage the charging when you're at a kind of location that you've defined as your managed charging location. Typically, if you're charging at a service station on a rapid charger, you want to charge as quickly as possible. So we're not going to be like, maybe wait.
At
this service station,
wait till 3 a.m.
We'll
I get it. Very cool stuff. Tell us a little bit more about your role then. So you are VP of Engineering and interim CTO. That's still the case, is that right?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I can tell you a bit more. So I think my role is, I guess there's a few elements to it. So I think a lot about engineering strategy. So how are we going to use the team that we've built to deliver that mission that we've spoken about? So to dig into that a little bit, I kind of touched on it already, but when we're building, say, the mobile app, the mobile engineers and then the teams focusing on the driver experience, one thing we think a lot about is trust. So drivers of EVs, charging is the thing that's different. That's the new thing. That's the thing that probably is a slight concern. And we are asking them, let's take over control of your charging and we'll make it greener, we'll make it cheaper. And those are great things. But it's quite a big ask, and we have to kind of earn the trust of those customers to allow them to convince them to give us that flexibility. So on that sense, we have to build a really high quality, high trust experience. So kind of the engineering strategy around that, we think a lot about how we're going to build that trusted, really high quality mobile experience. I think we think a lot about that compatibility that I mentioned. So I said the EV market is changing. We started with a very small number of EVs, like a Nissan Leaf and a Tesla a few years ago. Those were your two choices, to now, I don't know the number, but a huge number of EVs. And we want any driver who signs up to be able to use the platform. So we think a lot about how are we going to kind of deliver that compatibility. And then I think we think a lot about how can we build this product. We're building this product in two complex spaces. So we have EVs and chargers that we've spoken about. We have the energy market. Those are both complex. How can we build a product that we can deploy really quickly there? So I think a lot about how do we build a system that we can deploy to new energy utilities throughout the world, and particularly in the US at the moment. How can we build a product that can be reused across lots of energy utilities and not require us to build kind of a new kind of product for each utility that we partner with? So yeah, I think a lot about that kind of technology strategy. And then I also think a lot about growing the team. That's a big part of my time. So we have about 35 engineers at the moment. That is growing. I think a lot about hiring and team structures and things like that.
So just to kind of dig a little bit more into the tech that's going into, let's say, the UK and then the US, and then which other countries that you go into, you know, what sort of things do you have to think about there? I mean, there's just for a little bit of context, a lot of the listeners on this show will be engineers, both in the States and the UK, and I'm sure that they would probably like to understand a little bit more about your thought process when it, you know, let's say the US versus the UK sort of thing.
Yeah, there's around the edge, like I've kind of touched on this, but from what I've said, you can probably imagine there's a lot of integrations to a lot of different things, different parts of the energy system, different energy utilities, different EVs, different EV chargers, and each of those is complex. And we're trying to kind of architect the system so that we can keep the kind of the core of the system as simple as possible, but manage the complexity with all of those integrations at kind of that layer. So every charger is going to be a little bit different, but broadly they all will tell you the charge rate, how fast it's charging. They will give you the ability to start and stop charging. We're trying to build the kind of right level of abstractions there to make our system fairly simple. But that's, I don't know, as we grow, we find new things. So you asked about UK versus US. There are a few key differences that come up. So one is the energy market structure. So in the UK, the energy market works in 30-minute intervals. So when an energy utility buys energy, they buy it in 30-minute chunks. And our system kind of grew up in the UK. That's where we were founded. And then we've moved, and we do now a lot in the US. And the US has 15-minute or even 5-minute intervals. So we kind of had to overhaul the internals of our system to deal with that. But you also have differences like vehicles availability. So in the US, a very popular car would be the Chevy Bolt or Chevy Volt, which is not one we have in the UK. And similar, we have some in the UK or Europe that are not in the US. So we have to build out different compatibility. And then the charger market is quite different as well. So in the US, the architecture of how chargers work is typically we integrate with a cloud service from a charger manufacturer, which then connects to the charger. Whereas in the UK, there's more of a standard called OCPP, where the charger connects directly into our system. So in each of those kind of three sides of the triangle, there's different technical challenges, slight differences in how we build it. But yeah, we try our best to kind of make it so it doesn't really matter for the.
And I guess from an engineering point of view, you mentioned hiring before, you know, when I speak to engineers, a lot of the time that they join new companies is one for the mission, and two because of the interesting challenges and the interesting problems that they have to try and solve.
Yeah.
And that certainly seems like one of those there.
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of, I think a lot, I get asked in interviews a lot, like what are the interesting technical challenges?
Yeah, exactly.
Typically managing that complexity. So how do we build this system that manages all this complexity and gives a driver just a really nice, simple experience? But there's another one, which is just scale. There are going to be a lot of electric vehicles, a lot of electric vehicle chargers, and they're all going to be sending us, typically on a charger, it can send us data once per minute, and some vehicles can do that as well. So that's going to be a lot of data coming into our platform that we're processing when we get to millions of cars, even more than millions of cars on the platform.
Exciting times. And like, you were founded in 2018. You've got a headcount of about 100, I think, already.
Yes.
So you've gone some. It's rarely plain sailing. You've touched on some of the challenges that you're already working on. What are the startup based challenges can you share with the listeners? What have you taken away from those?
Yeah, I think I touched on hiring as a key focus of mine. So it's a key focus because it's a key challenge, but we're trying to hire really good people. I've always found, like you said, the mission is really important. We need people that have the technical skill, but as well as that, they need to believe in what we're trying to do. So we focus a lot on trying to find people that really believe in that mission. And then I think from that, they're much more kind of creative in the way they will kind of address problems that we have. Because as a startup, we're growing, we're changing, we're evolving all the time. Things are changing, and if we have people that really believe in that mission and where we're trying to get, they're going to kind of be more adaptable in that. So hiring is a challenge, but I think, we have 100 people. We have to keep them all kind of pointed in the right direction. And I think we've hired people that are really focused on that mission, but we have to keep kind of reinforcing that as a company, talking always about what is the impact we're having, what are we trying to achieve, making sure everyone is aligned and focusing their efforts in the right direction, because there's a huge amount of challenges we could take on, but 100 people sounds like a lot, and it is a lot of people, but for all the challenges we could solve, it's not enough people. So you have to be really focused in
what I was going to ask was, how do you scale quickly over a couple of continents, and keep that very core cultural values, and that, I think you touched on it there with constant communication, and driving home that impact of what you're actually achieving along the way. Is that something that really is front and center for you guys?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you kind of touched on it there, and I realized I didn't say it explicitly, but we are fully remote as a company, so we do have people across many continents and kind of dispersed geographically within each continent as well. So I think that's an advantage. I think that's how we were so easily able to scale in say the US and in Germany and other places. But it's an advantage, but it's also a challenge. And I think it is about, one, hiring people that are aligned to the mission, and then two, keeping them informed in where we are. So I think probably like two things on that. One, we always have the kind of impact metrics on our top level company, like OKRs that we have. So typically we have 3 or 4 top level company OKRs at a time. One of them is always about what is the impact target that we're shooting for, how many carbon emission savings are we aiming for in this quarter, so people are really clear on what we're trying to do. So communicating that, and we do things like, we're also a registered B Corp, which means we've like very early on committed to this being driven by not just profits, but by contribution to society. So there's a thing that Nick Woolley, the CEO, I think started. But we have a company value called Think Win Win Win, which sometimes when you first say it, people think they hear it as like win at all costs or something like that, but it's not that. It's think win-win, like think about something that benefits the client and benefits us, say in a negotiation. But the third win is society or the environment or something like that. So you'll hear all the time, think win win win, people sharing messages in a channel called Think Win 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 of like, what have we done that are benefiting? Because we are a company, has to benefit the company, has to benefit the client, but benefits society as well. So yeah, basically communicating this.
Yeah, I really like it.
All the time.
Definitely. So what's next then? You're going nuts on the hiring. You mentioned that already. Any exciting developments that you can share with the people listening?
Of course. A recent one, we announced Series B funding probably about a month ago. So that's great. That's a good kind of endorsement. The fact that we're able to do it in this kind of time.
Yeah, in a tricky environment as well, right?
Exactly, of what we're building. And so that's great, but what that means is hiring. And then what that means is really trying to hire to expand our impact. So we call our system the virtual power plant. It's we want to expand the number of vehicles participating in that. We want to grow the number of the amount of energy that we are managing, and so that we can kind of push that, as we talked about, into more renewables, using more renewables to power cars. To do all of that, we need to grow the team, to grow the number of vehicles. And one of our key kind of strategies of that is partnering a lot with US energy utilities. We've been finding a lot of traction on that. We have some great partners. We've done a lot in New York State, partnering with, for example, in New York City, there's an energy utility called Con Edison. We partner with them to provide a charging service for their customers. And that's going really well, but New York State is a very small part of the US, and we're trying to grow the number of partners that we have there to ultimately get more EVs into the platform.
Exciting times. So last question, Ashley. We're running out of time a little bit, but I'm really keen to get your thoughts and a little bit of insight on what, the climate crisis in general. Appreciate it's a huge open question. Are we doing enough as a collective? What part can businesses like ev.energy and all of the other businesses, not just that are specifically within climate, but businesses as a whole, what can we all be doing to play a part in a more sustainable future?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a book by Bill Gates, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, that lays this out really, really well. And I always remember he categorizes things into a few segments, and one is getting around. So how do we transport things? One is plugging in the electricity we use. I think getting around, I have the numbers actually in front of me. So 16% of climate emissions come from getting around, and 27 from plugging in. And so ev.energy is playing a part of both of those. And that's going to be impactful. But 27%, 16%, and getting around the 16% includes aviation, for example, as well. We need more people to think about more problems in those spaces. So sustainable aviation, something that I'm kind of personally interested in as well. But we need to do more there. We need to find solutions. There's another big category. 31% of carbon emissions comes from making things, and a lot of that is construction. So cement into construction. There's some really interesting stuff that I've heard about going on in that space to reduce there, but we still need to do more. So I think we need to do more of this, more of everything, to address all of those different categories. And I'm really proud that we're doing our part within the EV kind of transportation sector, but yeah, we need everyone to kind of push towards.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys are clearly doing your part. And I think, you know, from doing this show, from my perspective, it is more front and center now. You know, it's, you know, there are lots and lots of companies playing a part in different areas. So you mentioned construction. I spoke to a company that are based in Massachusetts yesterday, and we recorded this show with them as well. And they're creating biochar, which is basically out of sawdust, which is going into cement to make buildings more sustainable and lock in the carbon. Just very, very cool stuff, but all, you know, playing that same part in the climate, but also having another benefit as well in terms of actually building construction. So all very good. Ashley, great to speak to you. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insights. Ashley Grealish from ev.energy. Thanks again.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. It was a pleasure.